Hello, welcome to how to solve this very nice radical equation. Square root of x plus 28 plus square root of x is equal to 14. We need to find the value of x. We will solve it by two methods, so let's start with method 1. In this method, we move this plus square root of x to the right side. At left side remains this expression square root of x plus 28 is equal to 14, and this plus square root of x becomes negative square root of x at the right side. Now from here we take square of both sides of this equation. So this square will be cancelled out with this square root, and at left side left x plus 28 is equal to, by using this algebraic identity, a minus b whole squared is equal to a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. This 14 minus square root of x whole squared becomes 14 squared minus 2 times 14 times square root of x plus square root of x squared. Next, x plus 28 is equal to, this 14 squared is 196 minus 2 times 14, 28 times square root of x, plus this square will be cancelled out with this square root, and here left x. Now we move this negative 28 times square root of x to the left side, and this x plus 28 to the right side. This negative 28 times square root of x becomes positive 28 times square root of x is equal to, we write this x first, x, and this plus x becomes negative x at right side, plus this 196, and this plus 28 becomes negative 28 at right side. Next, 28 times x is equal to, this positive x will be cancelled out with this negative x, and 196 minus 28 becomes 196. Now from here we divide both sides by 28. At right side we divide by 28. Now this 28 will be cancelled out with this 28, and at left side left square root of x is equal to, 196 divided by 28 is 6, and from here we take square of both sides. So this square will be cancelled out with this square root, and at left side left x is equal to, 6 squared is 36. This is the value of x. This is the final answer of this equation. Now let's solve this equation by method 2. In this method we name this equation equation 1. Now we multiply and divide this expression by the conjugate of this expression, like this, square root of x plus 28 plus square root of x, and we multiply this expression by the conjugate of this expression, square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x, and we divide this expression by the conjugate of this expression, square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x is equal to 14. Now by using this algebraic identity, a plus b times a minus b is equal to a squared minus b squared. In this expression, this square root of x plus 28 is as a, and this square root of x is as b. And here this square root of x plus 28 is as a, and this square root of x is as b. So this square root of x plus 28 plus the square root of x times square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x becomes square root of x plus 28 squared minus square root of x squared divided by this expression square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x is equal to 14. Now this square will be cancelled out with this square root, and this square will be cancelled out with this square root, and in the numerator left x plus 28 minus x divided by this expression square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x is equal to 14. Now this negative x will be cancelled out with this positive x, and here left 28 divided by this expression square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x is equal to 14. Now if we divide both sides of this equation by 14 and multiply both sides of this equation by this expression, then this implies that 28 divided by 14 is equal to this expression square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x. Now this 28 divided by 14 is 2 is equal to square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x. Now we write this expression at left side and this 2 at right side. Square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x is equal to 2, and we name this equation equation 2, and we subtract from equation 1 equation 2. Equation 1 is square root of x plus 28 plus square root of x is equal to 14. Equation 1 is square root of x plus 28 plus square root of x is equal to 14. From this equation we subtract this equation 2. Square root of x plus 28 minus square root of x is equal to 2, and we subtract this equation 2 from equation 1. Because we are subtracting, this negative becomes plus and this positive becomes negative, and this positive square root of x plus 28 will be cancelled out with this negative square root of x plus 28, and this 1 times square root of x plus 1 times square root of x becomes 2 times square root of x is equal to 14 minus 2, 12. Now from here we divide both sides by 2. At right side we divide by 2. Now this 2 will be cancelled out with this 2, and at left side left square root of x is equal to 12 divided by 2, 6, and from here we take square of both sides. So this square will be cancelled out with this square root, and we get the value of x is equal to 6 squared is 36. 6. So we get the same answer of this equation as we get from method 1.